Hey y'all, welcome to Ryan and Robert Rants. Today we are going to be doing a review. And Robert, what are we reviewing today?
We are going to be reviewing the first three episodes of Ironheart.
Yes, Ironheart. It's finally here and we're finally getting around to doing this. Between me being sick and us just working a lot, we finally had a chance to sit down, watch it, and now we're going to talk about it. We haven't really talked too much one on one, right? Regarding this?
No,
Right,
nope.
right.
You watched it. I think when it premiered, I was able to watch the first episode on premiere night, and then I watched the second and third episode the next like morning before work. What this series shot in 2022, so it's kind of been in I don't know, like the release just kept getting pushed back and pushed back. So, in true Ironheart fashion, we just pushed back the recording for this for a couple days.
Amen to that. But hey, it's finally here, so let's go ahead and just jump right in. Like Robert said, we are going to cover all three episodes. We're going to try not to take too long, but we'll see where the conversation takes us because this is just going to be raw.
Yeah.
So, I do want to preface before we start. First and foremost, spoilers. We're going to spoil everything, so if you haven't seen these three episodes, you've been warned. We're going to talk about them in depth. Another thing I wanted to mention, I watched this twice. Each episode about two times. And I'm gonna go into more detail when we get towards the end. I don't know of each one or at the end of the whole thing, but there's something I am gonna bring up. But yeah, so I guess let's just jump right in. Did you want to talk about episode one? Which did you get the titles? Because I didn't. I'm just calling them episode one, two, and three.
Yeah. Episode one is called "Take Me Home."
Yes, take me home, which is what I was yelling the entire episode, even though I was already home watching it. But yeah, so I guess we'll just jump right in. Did you want to do like a little synopsis or just like a basic
Yeah.
breakdown of it?
I believe timeline wise, this takes place just a few months after Wakanda Forever. I don't know the exact timelines, but I think one of the characters later on says mentions like a hot October. So I think in World MCU, this is going to be like October 2025. Um, so take that for what you will in terms of phase 4 and 5 timeline logic, which everyone is still trying to figure out, myself included. But yeah, I mean, this first episode kind of reintroduces us to Riri since Black Panther Wakanda Forever came out in what 2023. So, we learned that she's still at MIT. She's kind of financially struggling. She's kind of making um, money selling like homework to students, basically not being ethical with, how she's going about this money. But she's trying to get all this money because she wants to create a new suit because the last one she had to leave in Wakanda. So, and then I believe the dean or whatever finds out about all the issues, and she ends up getting expelled. And
We
yeah,
do
I
get
think
a
we
cool
find out this.
cameo though from Jim Rash as
Yeah, no,
Professor
I was like,
Wilkes.
he was the hot dog guy, right? He wanted to make the hot dog thing like embedded in the quote the shaft of the hot dog, right?
He does say that right in Civil
Right,
War.
right. That's what he wanted to do, right? He was
The
like, "Oh
only
my
thing
God,
I ever
gross," right?
remember is just that he's like, so does this pertain to just the students or the
Right? Yeah,
faculty
yeah.
as well? Like that's the only thing I remember.
Yeah, I think he wanted to make like like I don't know, something to cook the hot dog from the inside. I don't know.
He
It
would.
was like just probably one of those lines where it's just like nobody's really gonna pay attention to this.
It's a line from Community. Like it's a
Oh
line
yeah.
he would have had in Community. But yeah,
But
as you were, as
yeah, yeah. So, Riri's on the verge of getting kind of tossed out of MIT, and then they allow her to get her things, and she's able to like kind of suit up because all her suit is just kind of all over the place in this engineering lab, which I felt was, I mean, I guess. I imagine
yeah,
there's other engineers, students using this lab. So why is, I mean, it's a kind of a cool suit up scene reminiscent of the old Iron Man suits where where it's not like nanotech, where it's just like, oh, boom, and you know, I did like that. I did like that part because it was like a traditional Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2 suit up.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it was weird why all that stuff was just lying around the floor. But anyways, yeah, she ends up like flying out of MIT. Um,
Did you get
the
the
what
line?
I don't remember the MIT's little AI thing, but it was so reminiscent of
Trevor.
Clippy. Trevor, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it looked just like old Clippy from like the '90s. I was like, oh, that takes me back.
Did you catch
Pretty.
the line that the student gives right before she leaves?
Nuh-uh. I
So
mean, I probably did, but
there's a dropped line to justify why she did everything she did, and one of
oh,
the students
because she
says
could.
she built that with her own grant money and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, yeah, like
Yeah,
explain away. But yeah,
and
like you were
her
saying with Trevor, yeah, super reminiscent of Clippy, but I like that he's used as a like an educational tool. So
yeah,
that was pretty funny.
justice for Clippy. But yeah, so she's going home to Chicago. She pretty much gets there when I believe, they probably catch on and the AI kind of, or virtual assistant, however you want to call it, kind of short circuit and her like suit kind of malfunctions a bit and she like crash lands into the streets of Chicago. And then
Yeah,
like as she does that, the debris or the rubble kind of spells out Ironheart, which I thought was kind of cool. Um
the
and
guy
then she
driving
ends up,
by on the bike, get out of the street.
yeah, yeah, like no help, just get out of the street. And yeah, she ends up kind of doing like a walk of shame with her suit all the way. And then she ends up meeting a kid, and then kid charges her to use uh the wagon. That kid's gonna go places.
Yeah, Landon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then she's kind of reconnecting with her family, stuff like that. We're kind of getting a little backstory of her time in Chicago. I believe what her stepdad's name was Greg. Her
Is
best
it
friend
Gary?
Natalie. It could be Gary. I don't know.
Gary,
Greg or
I think.
Gary.
Yeah, very
But
forgettable. Very forgettable.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they'll go more into it as the series goes on, but I think you're right. I think it was Gary. But um yeah, and then we kind of meet Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood. Very creative.
Pudding
I keep going back
gang.
to yeah, I keep going back to like that's the moniker they call Green Arrow in the first Arrowverse, the Hood.
Oh my
Such
god, I
a
forgot about.
good.
Oh god, burn that from my memory. Dude, this is when we get the most inclusionary gang that there has ever been.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where it.
I didn't catch most of their names, but
Oh, it's
what was
okay. I
it?
got you. I got you.
Yeah, I know it
Uh,
included Eric Andre as what Rampage.
yeah,
Uh,
rampage.
yeah,
Dude, he's
uh,
wasted in this role. Like, I get that it's comic
I don't.
relief, but it's like,
I'm not an Eric Andre fan, so I didn't really care. I thought he was like, honestly, out of the whole group, I thought he was the worst bit of the group.
yeah. But
I'm
like
not.
I
I'm
said,
not.
it's
Not a
because he's
fan.
wasted, like, in the role of that. It's like, they could have given him something else to do. Like, instead of just being the comic relief like he always is, like, this could have been an opportunity. Okay, let's get some range on him. Let's see him take on like a more serious role with it. Like, oh, he could be a little humorous, but you know what I mean? Just to like
Yeah.
flip it on its head. Like I
Yeah.
want to see challenges again in the MCU with the acting. Like it's just everybody's just playing a caricature or just the stereotype of
But I think
whatever
that's
it
also an
is.
issue of casting someone like him because I don't think he has that range.
I
I
don't know.
honestly don't.
I think he
I don't.
does.
I, everything I've seen him in, I never seen it. I just I mean I think a character was wasted, and I think they just knew it was kind of like it was just going to be a one and done. So they're like, he's a familiar face. We can kind of throw him in there.
Yeah. And honestly, it was probably the budget too. We could only afford him for so long.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, dude. So I know you read more of the comics than I do, but I did notice that when I was looking like at the IMDb and whatnot of everything, that I saw that there was a writing credit for the Blood Brothers. And I was like, why does that sound familiar? So I looked them up and I was like, okay, these guys look familiar. Like I feel like I've seen them somewhere. And then in here we have the Blood siblings.
Blood siblings.
Yeah, so I will say this, the hood it looks ridiculous. Like
I think it's supposed to.
he
Even in the
looks like
comics, it looks
McLovin in freaking Role Models, dude, when he's wearing the little cape
wearing
or like the
the
pin and
ET hood.
brick.
The ET
Yeah.
hood.
Yeah, like it just I can't buy Anthony Ramos as a heavy. I can't do it. I feel like you needed someone just like a little bit more, like a little bit something more for the role.
I
Like he has moments which we'll talk about in a little while, but
yeah.
I in this first episode I can't buy it. Like I said, he just looks so ridiculous. Like he looks tiny and he's like all in the hood.
I will say it, the Hood is an interesting choice of a villain for a character that's predominantly tech based. Because again, the Hood is more of a. I mean, I honestly think with this show they're gonna lean into the Mephisto route. I believe the
We're
Hood
gonna
was
talk about
something.
something soon, and I will
Yeah,
elaborate on that.
I think the Hood was stolen or taken from the Dark Dimension, but you still have it's still it's still mystical, right? So it's kind of an odd choice of villain, and I thought choosing that villain for this series was again just strange. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Ooh. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just an odd choice. I don't know if it's just because they're running out of interesting characters. I mean, I think Anthony Ramos is kind of a. I don't know if I buy him as a villain, so he's probably going to be more of a. I don't want to say redeemable character, but more antagonist.
He
I think
seems
he.
more like the second in command,
So
or
there
even the
was.
third in
Well,
command. You know what I mean? Like he
what
doesn't
I'm
feel like
saying.
he's like the like he's
Yeah, there's going
supposed
to
to
be a.
be your guy you
There's
look
going to be
at
a
and
big
then
bad.
what's up?
Yeah, there's going to be a big bad for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that, but you should still have like your second in command still feel like a presence and
Yeah,
a heavy, and this feels more like along the lines of henchman
yeah.
versus
I
like,
think.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if I think or so
His number
I'm just
two
gonna
does a
kind of
better job at being more menacing, John.
yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna like gloss over the synopsis of these first couple episodes. So,
Yeah.
anyways, Riri's recruited into this gang, to the Hood's gang, by his cousin. I think his name was what Manny or something, or I don't know,
John.
John. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good in the role. Um,
John's good. I like
yeah, I like
John.
John.
Like
What is, oh,
he
I
like
think
I said, he's menacing, but he's also
his real name
soft
is
at some
the
point.
actor's name is Manny. That's why I was getting confused. The actor's name is Manny something. Um, but anyway, she ends up joining their first like heist or I guess mission or whatever is sabotaging a new underground system called Tunnel, where it's kind of like an elite. It's for the elite, where the cars can like go underneath the using the old railway tunnels underneath Chicago, and they can like pretty much traverse all of the city without traffic. So they end up like sabotaging it. They got the CEO lady to sign a contract. The Hood did. So basically, they're going after all these like tech people in Chicago because the next one they ended up going after was a guy. I forgot what the name of the company he did.
Heirloom.
Heirloom, right? So that was all about. I don't know what his thing was. He was doing
So
something with like
I don't know if he's a
greenery.
botanist, but basically
Yeah,
he has a collection of greenhouses. It looks a
yeah,
lot like the raft.
it did.
A lot like the raft, and it almost looks like something out of Spider-Man. Like that's the vibe I got from it. Like this would be like a
Yeah,
Spider-Man villain or something
yeah.
like just where it was set is what it felt like.
But I mean, the guy didn't even come off as a villain. Like even like when he was being confronted by the Hood,
Yeah.
the Hood's trying to get him to sign this contract, and he's just like, no, you have nothing, but anyways, he the mission kind of goes south because Riri's trying to get a piece of the Hood to analyze it because she believes that the Hood is some kind of supernatural, right? And she
Yeah.
doesn't trust this magical garment. Anyways, she ends up getting confronted by John, the Hood's cousin.
Yeah.
They ended up having a scuffle, and the whole like greenhouse lab thing seals itself, and everybody ended up leaving John behind to suffocate to death. And this is kind of where episode 3 concludes, where Riri's kind of going through a kind of like an ethical crisis. She's having an anxiety attack because not only did Rampage kind of got off. So Rampage, it's alluded that John ended up killing Rampage to get Riri on the team.
Yeah.
So
Again,
she's
eluded.
like, yeah, she's
Very, very
kind
eluded.
of going through this crisis where did someone die because just for her to join this team so she can get money to build these suits, and then she had to leave. She chose not. She didn't kill John, but she chose not to save him. Batman Begins.
So,
But yeah, and then it with Parker Robbins, aka the Hood, at the end of the episode, he's looks like he's being confronted by what we think is going to be um what I think is probably Mephisto, or at least the one pulling the strings behind Parker Robbins's magical gifts. And the only so that's basically how the first 3 episodes go. The only other thing I kind of forgot to mention was we're recreating an AI using brainwave mapping to, the AI basically becomes her best friend, Natalie, both the name and the acronym. I'm not going to go into what the acronym stands for. It's like a neuro something, whatever. So I mean, so yeah, that's kind of where the first 3 episodes go in a nutshell. So
so discussion time.
discussion. Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to keep it brief. I mean, if you want to know how the episode goes, go watch it.
Yeah. So the one thing I definitely want to mention about these 3 episodes, this all should have been rolled into one package. There's no reason for all 3 of them to be chopped up the way they are. It feels like almost nothing happens in each episode. It feels like it's all one cohesive thing, and then it just rushes through, and then it leaves off, and then it rushes through, leaves off. Like it doesn't feel like actual episodes.
Well,
Not
that's
episodic,
a
like a beginning, middle, end. It feels
yeah,
just like every other project we've had, where it's like we
yeah,
filmed this all as one thing, and then we just made a
and then
cut
they
right here. Yeah,
yeah,
episode
that's
one,
that's
episode two.
basically how all of Marvel projects have been, at least to Disney Plus. The only one that felt episodic, obviously, was WandaVision,
Yeah,
because I mean, that's literally how it was made. But yeah, I think that's just the issue with all they Disney has not, or Marvel, I guess more specifically, has not figured out how to make their shows episodic.
which is
And I
sad
would even
because they have
say,
plenty of shows to pull from
yeah,
as examples.
yeah, I think that's why. So if you look at all 3 of these episodes as kind of a one whole episode, I think you might get that beginning, middle, and end, because you have the ending to episode 3 as
A cliffhanger
uh,
where it's like,
a
oh,
cliffhanger, where it could have been considered like a mid-season finale, like if we're going. But so I think if you look at it all as one, so I think that's why they dropped all 3 of these at once, and then they're going to drop the next 3, you know, the next week. Um, so I will say, like, each episode doesn't feel episodic, but if you look at all of it as one, it does. So that's, I mean, they're it's progress, I suppose you can say, because you couldn't
sure,
you couldn't get that.
sure.
Hey, we're making this. It's not a giant
It's
step forward.
it's
It's a small
project
step
from
forward.
a it's progress from a project that was filmed almost 5 years ago. Was supposed to come out a year or two after
3,
that, and then finally dropped almost 5 years later.
2022
And exactly, like it's
when they
like
filmed it.
the
I mean,
I'm just curious
it's
why they chose to release it the way they did. Like they literally released the trailer in June, or not June. No, what was it, like a month ago, right? Like in May or something like that. Like they
yeah.
released the trailer real fast, And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're gonna drop it like this. Oh, but wait, we're gonna drop all 3 episodes, one night, boom. And then the
Yeah.
next one was like, okay, so are we gonna get the next three? It's gonna be weekly. No, we're gonna get all three of them right there. Then just do a 2-part event, like a 2-week
Yeah.
event. Ironheart, something like that. But it's like, I don't know. It's just a weird model. But didn't they do something like this with Andor season 2 as well?
Yeah, they had 12 episodes, so they dropped 3 episode batches, but all 3 episodes was like an arc. So you had like episodes 1 through 3 was its own story, 4 through 6 was its own story, and then so on and so forth. Each one was a year in the timeline. So I think the
Oh,
first batch was like 5 BBY, not ABY, 5 BBY, then 4 BBY, and it just all counted down to Rogue One.
okay. So I'm wondering if that's their new model that they're going
I mean,
for, is we're just gonna
I
film
I
three
don't
episodes and here's your story arc.
I don't know if that's going to be the new model. I know that Andor specifically was structured that way. So I don't know what the structure was for Ironheart going in, because I felt like even in the comics, Riri is not that compelling of a character. She kind of came out in this like Marvel like now portion of like the early 2010s, and they were just kind of trying to create a lot of legacy characters, and she just kind of like popped up, right? And
Yeah.
she was intelligent. Like I don't know. She didn't take off in the comics like Miles Morales did. She that those get a lot of character comparisons because it's the same writer that created both of them. So I think with
Oh, okay.
yeah with Miles it was a little different, and then with Riri I think the fans were just like it's kind of like a just a cop out. She's kind of since found a fan base, but I don't think she took off. She definitely didn't take off nearly as much as Miles did. So this was kind of one of those shows where I don't know. Like she's, in my opinion, a side character. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think she needed a show. So I think going into this, I had low expectations, and coming out of it, I was, I wouldn't say I was like quote blown away, right? But I was kind of surprised by at least of some of the depth they put into, like kind of giving Riri some characterization. I really like Natalie as the AI. She's a lot of fun. She's a lot of fun. I mean, just other than like nitpicking on some of the dialogue, I think they're doing okay with at least giving this show some life. And her relationships with her mom and her. I don't know who that one guy was. Was that Natalie's old boyfriend or something? I'm not sure.
So Xavier, they never really specify. Like at first, it sounds like it's her boyfriend that she was
Yeah,
dating when she died,
or
but then it sounds like
just
they were all
hooking up
just
with.
friends. Like it's never like
Yeah.
explicitly said in any of the episodes. But so with that being said, for each episode, I'm just curious. This is just for me. For each episode, do you have an out of 10 score for each episode?
Um, I mean, I didn't really think too much into it, to be honest, just because I mean, I watched them and then went to work. I haven't even touched on Ezekiel Stain.
uh, uh,
Completely forgot about him.
uh,
Uh,
uh.
that was an interesting character to put in because I mean, yes, he is a villain to Iron Man, in the comics.
Yeah. Which I did
Um,
look that up. I'm like,
yeah, but I mean, it's and like Obadiah didn't have. I mean, he was in Iron Man. He didn't get too much of a, I guess, backstory. So I mean, everything's plausible. So I'm kind of curious where Ezekiel's gonna go because I mean,
I
I
can
feel like
tell
this
you, I
whole
have a feeling. I have a feeling
I
what they're gonna do.
yeah, I do too, and I hope that they just if they're gonna do anything, I don't know if they ever still plan on doing Armor Wars,
Oh
but
God.
I mean, if this, um, I guess show could be kind of his like villain origin story. Like I don't want him to go full villain in this show or even full antagonist. Like if it was kind of a lead up to him being a villain and then he gets used, in another project, that'd be kind of cool because I feel like if we have the hood and that gang and whatever is going on with the hood, I feel like that's going to be enough for this show. We don't have to go too like bombastic towards the end. Kind of keep it simple. We don't have to go. We don't have to like tie up all loose ends. It's be nice, but I feel like if we left at least that character alone and be like, all right, he can come back later in something, or we could just not do it at all, which is the typical thing for Phase 4 and 5.
Yeah, yeah, for real. A lot of setup with no payoff.
I don't want him to be the Harry Osborn in Spider-Man 3, just coming in the beginning and then gets defeated. You know what I mean?
So, there's so much to unpack with this show just from the first three episodes. First off, the dialogue is very bad.
Yeah,
It is. Like, they have some really good looking scenes, but the script is the weakest part.
yeah,
Um, so just based off of episode one, my biggest takeaway is that they didn't make Riri unbearable, which I really appreciate.
yeah.
Um, so like I said, I prefaced at the beginning, I watched all three episodes twice. There were just like yourself, I stayed away from everything. I don't even think I saw the trailer.
I
I
didn't
think
see
I
it.
might have. I don't remember. So the thing about this is when we talked about we were gonna do this video, I watched it the first time just to be like, okay, I'll watch it and see what happens. And then I honestly didn't remember much about it. And then I watched it a second time so that way I could take notes. And even when I got to the third one, I was like, I don't even want to finish this. Like, I don't even want to take any more notes on this. Just because it's one of those projects that it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to feel about it. But just from watching it, like I said, I think that there's moments in this show where they definitely could take it a certain way. And what I mean by that is I'm going to use another show as an example. She-Hulk, where they're very blatant about their message of what they're trying to portray because the dialogue is so bad and because of how they choose to portray characters in the show. In this one, they skirt it. It's like they come up to the line of we could take this route and be preachy, but we're gonna take a different route. But it's like we're gonna get close, but then we're gonna pull back a little bit. So I do appreciate that. But again, the thing that kills it is the dialogue, and there are some lines in there that do make me go like, I'm not really feeling that. And again, you can chalk it up to Riri is still a kid. I mean, she's grown, she is older, but it feels like it's sort of like a step back from the character she's supposed to have grown as in Wakanda Forever, where she's like, I just went through this life changing thing where it's like, I have a different outlook on life now. Like, I'm gonna focus on this. Like, the fact that she got rid of the car feels out of
Yeah,
place. Like, even though it was like, oh, I needed money for the suit, that feels out of character for what she would have done, especially with how that movie ends. She's like, no, I'm gonna rebuild the car. Like, I'm gonna rebuild it because that's the thing. That's her character, who she is. That's her. That is what she's tied to. Is that vehicle with her memories, with her father, with everything that happened. And then for it to be casually thrown like in a throwaway line, oh, I sold it because of that. It's like, no, she wouldn't have parted with that. She would have shown up in this episode somehow, leaving MIT in the car. We probably wouldn't have gotten the suit till later on, episode 2 or 3, like something along those lines. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, so something like that. there is one thing that's in here. Again, I don't know if this is part of the character or if this is just in the writing, but they try to make she has lines where she's like, I'm better. I'm better. I want to do this, but better. The right way. Iconic.
Yeah.
Like when, she's met with like pushback on what she says, like with Joe. I think it's episode 2 when they're talking in the bunker. So they're having that discussion, and she's asking him about the AI, and he tells her about that. And oh, no, 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 it's when she's talking with Parker, when she realizes, hey, are we Ocean's 11 or The Sopranos? Meaning that, are we doing all this for the money and no one gets hurt, or are we doing like whatever we need to because we're the bad guys? Like, it is set that they are criminals. They
Yeah.
even say they are criminals, and then she's just like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't know." It's like, you're in it, dude. Like,
Yeah. You
you are
can't
a
be that
criminal.
naive.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, is like, it's these little character choices that they chose to write for her, that again, it just feels out of place from what has already been established. And for someone as smart as she is, she does come off very naive like that. And Parker has this really weird speech where he talks about, it's after, I think it's after they do the tunnel heist, where he's sitting with them and whatnot. I think it's episode 2, and he's like, if John hadn't found him, he wouldn't be there. And he says that, everything that they do makes something real, that they've waited all their lives to be seen, waiting to be acknowledged for your greatness. Well, I see you. And the camera pans over them, and he's like, but the money above us will never notice our brilliance unless we force them. And after what we pulled at Tunnel, these suckers are listening and they're terrified. But he doesn't care about anyone but the team. So it's just like, you know what I mean? Like little lines like that where it's like, okay, we get it. Like, just tell the story. Like, I don't need preaching. And I will say there's one really cool scene that it's a pretty fast scene, but I thought it was cool for the episode. And it's when Riri goes outside after that, and you see the suit hovering in the air with the panels like panned out and whatnot. I thought that was a really good shot. I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And to talk about your Mephisto thing, they give it away in this episode. Like, it's literally right there in your face when she's out there in the alleyway and she's talking with Nat. There's a big old Faust poster on the back. Like, it's like, okay, like, if you don't need any more foreshadowing, like, yeah, it's Mephisto. Like, I mean, it's a freaking hood. The whole, like, oh my god, it's so hot in here. It's like, yes, it's Mephisto. We get
Gonna
it.
be Mephisto finally.
But I agree with you. Like, it's such a weird choice to introduce a villain like that in a show like this.
Yes.
And especially like when she's having that conversation with Parker about the hood, and he's like, magic, and she's like, oh, magic. Like, no, like, it's not magic. But then, like, prior to that, she's listing off about how it's like wizards and aliens and all that stuff. I'm like, come
She
on,
said
dude,
the
you
big
have.
three. She said the big
Yeah.
three.
Yeah. I forgot.
Androids, aliens, and wizards. The big
Yeah.
three.
Which, speaking of, that's the closest I think that this show feels to. It feels like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where
Yeah, I
it's
can see
like
that.
there's certain things that they do with the characters where it's like, I mean, like, okay, I
I will
guess.
say that this show also feels the most out of all the MCU's shows since like the original. Like you can even include Hawkeye, but it kind of feels like the most MCU show. Like Moon Knight, I didn't feel like I was in the MCU.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Miss Marvel, only because there was just she's the fangirl, right? So that was kind of just like thrown everywhere. But like a lot of the shows, like even Daredevil, didn't feel like I was in the MCU.
No.
Echo didn't even Echo being a sequel to Hawkeye didn't feel like I was in the MCU. And I think this one, the She-Hulk, everything like this one, I feel like it's still within the MCU. Like you can kind of see where it fits in. And I'm glad they took it out of like New York. Well, now we're in Chicago, so it's kind of like a a free sandbox to play in.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have the. I mean, even though this takes place before Thunderbolts, but we don't have like the Mayor Fisk of it all or whatever it is. Like, I mean, like I said, it takes place before it all, but we don't have to be tied down by what's already came before it.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean you are right on that. Like it definitely does have, you know what this felt like? It feels like Miss Marvel and Spider-Man Homecoming-esque, where you have an individual who's like, take Peter in Homecoming. You know, he's very like, no, I want to be an Avenger. Yeah, you know, I've done it once. Yeah, I want to do that. And then by the end of the movie, he realizes, oh wait, like and
Yeah,
even
maybe
Tony
not.
shows up and says, no, I wanted you to be better than that because
Yeah,
he has no, yeah, I'll just say it. He has a chip on his shoulder where he's like, no, like I am a hero, and he's trying to get him to understand there's more to being a hero than just that. So it feels like with this, it's like a culmination of both. Where, like you said, you could have Chicago being living and breathing, which in some instances they do. I just feel like they could have done better than having Hood in the gang. Like, I want to
yeah.
see more of her, trying to deal with stuff, trying to build this, and then like it's just something else. But having the whole criminal aspect, like, oh, this is how I'm gonna make the money and do this. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's weak story writing. I feel like there's a better story that can be told with it. But again, I don't know because I've never read
Yeah.
these comics. I don't know anything about her character aside from what I've seen in Wakanda Forever and what I'm seeing in here. But no, like I said,
Yeah.
it's like I
I
don't
mean, I'll
know.
reserve the overall judgment on because I mean, like you said, there could be a good story to tell with the hood
Yeah.
and how they interact. Because I saw, I think there was like a blink and you miss it like poster. I can't think it was in episode one where I think Parker Robbins' dad is also like a CEO of a tech company. It's like a poster. I can't remember but it said
Oh.
something Robbins. So I feel like his chip is he's going after all these tech companies for some reason, maybe to get back at his father. Um,
Okay. I mean, that
yeah,
would
but
make
I mean,
sense,
again,
like if, because it sounds like he's throwing a tantrum.
yeah, like he's definitely has maybe he made a deal with Mephisto to go like to bring these guys down, but what's in it for Mephisto, right? Again,
Yeah.
like I said, maybe there is a story to tell towards the end that why they chose to go this supernatural slash mystical route on a tech based, protagonist. I mean, I don't know. Like, we'll go when it ends. We can digest it all because I feel like if you wanted to go like full legacy of Tony Stark, which in the MCU it's more Peter, but like if you wanted to go that whole legacy, then obviously Ezekiel Stain could have been like maybe I don't know. We could have had him as trying to do better than his dad, and then maybe he falls, like maybe he's failing and failing and can't live up to trying to be better than his dad, and he's the one that made the deal with Mephisto. I don't know, like something like that would have been the legacy of going after another Stain, even though that might
Yeah.
just be following in the kind of a repeat story beat, right?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought him up. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, I hate the way that they portray him. I hate the way that he's being portrayed right now. Like he's just like some dork wimp who can't even talk to a neighbor about, like, oh my god, your dog pooped in my yard. Like, oh
But he
well,
plays
can't you
it
do
so
like,
well.
huh?
He plays it so well.
I mean, he
The
does,
actor,
but it's
the
like,
actor, like
but it's weak. Again, it's weak
pushover,
story writing. It's like, oh my god, he's a
pushover.
pushover. Like, oh my god, he has to learn to stand up for himself from a child. Like, it's
And then when he
come
becomes the
like,
villain,
come
you're
on.
like, oh, look at the development. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's just
yeah,
like,
but it's kind of
uh,
cliched.
yeah, but that's what I mean though. Like, again, there could be a story here. There could be a story, but it's just plagued with bad writing. It's just plagued with bad dialogue. And again,
Yeah,
caricatures of characters where it's just like, okay, here's a stereotype, check the box, boom, fill it, that's it, that's
I
all
feel
you
like a
do.
lot of these
And
Disney Plus
honestly,
shows
what was,
could have been Disney Plus movies. Like
Yeah, I mean,
you could have cut some of that down and really added some beefier, like not just because they have to stretch it out, right? Like 6 40-minute episodes. I mean, you're looking. I mean, you would probably create like a 5 hour movie, right, or whatever. So like they have to kind of add this kind of this fluff where I mean, if you kind of got rid of some of the fat, you probably could have created like a or like go bring like you said, bring us back to the two-part movies from back in like the TV movie in the '90s days, right? Or
yeah, or like you said, let Disney Plus for the Marvel shows, let them be the movies for your B characters, for your
yeah,
C characters, and then for the big screen you throw your A list comic book characters on there, and then you have them
yep,
team up. Like
yep,
boom. It's
yeah.
simple, it's easy, but they need to stop with the shows. Like I'm getting so tired of sitting through 45-minute shows where nothing happens, and then like I said, you get something like this where, oh, if you combine all 3 episodes, it's one full story arc where something
Yeah.
actually does happen. Like it's all
Yeah,
just fluff.
you could have trimmed it down for sure
Yeah, and if
into
we're
like
gonna be
10
honest,
parts.
the team should have died in the 3rd episode to build stakes. But just like everything before, they just come in, do everything like nothing. Like
At
it's
least
just
one or two of them, yeah.
yeah, like you need to start trimming. But I'm like, you kill John. No, you don't kill John yet. You keep John around towards the end, and you either let your villain take him out or something of that. You know what I mean? Or you make it poetic.
Yeah,
Like, yes, they did it with Riri chose not to help him, but it's
yeah,
like, no, like, there needs to be some sort of consequence for that. But you took him out too early. But again, they didn't want to get rid of who they could have gotten rid of. Because
yeah.
imagine that. Imagine it had gone like that. He loses the whole team. Boom. Dead. Now the end of the 3rd episode is like, okay, cool. But it's like, no, you just took John out. Especially after he just gave that speech about like, I care about all of you and stuff like that. Now imagine taking that all away from him. Now let's see what happens. But no, they're like,
I,
okay, one guy,
and
he suffocated. Oh no.
I yeah, I think taking out the whole team but leaving John still alive, that would have also created a dynamic between Parker and John later on. Because they were kind of, I wouldn't say butting heads, but they had kind of a conflict before that mission where you
Yeah.
kind of see it, kind of so it was kind of simmering, and then later on, like after this, the team dies, like that's when it kind of boils over, and then maybe later on in the series, Parker's like going to go back on Mephisto's deal, whatever it is, and that's when Mephisto shows up, and he's just like, that's when you kind of kill John, right? Like, no, I have the power here. Like
Yeah.
you belong to me, and this is what you don't want to listen to me. All right, well, John's gone. Like his soul is mine now.
Yeah. Like stakes. Like, oh my
Yeah,
god, like I'm owned. Like I because like you said, even the conflict between him and John where even the whole thing with hiding the scars and stuff like that of like I don't even know what you would call it, the cracks. um
veins. Yeah, like torture. I don't know.
yeah, he's like, he's
Corruption.
tattooing him to cover it up, and even he's like in that moment he's like, yo man, let's take 10 minutes, and he's like, no, like keep going. And even he's like, no, like like he
I
cares
can't
for
do
him.
this.
He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, like he's like, no, just stop this, like stop it, like we're already doing it. He's like, no, I gotta keep doing this. Which the only thing that would make this like, okay, I'm in, is at the end of one of the episodes Mephisto breaks himself out of Parker's body, and that's what that scale is, and then he just like has the hood on or something like that, you know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
would be the only thing that would be like, okay, okay, I see you, Ironheart. But like right now, it's just, I don't know. It's
What
just
if
so over the place.
what was that little kid's name? Landon.
Yeah, Landon.
What if that's Mephisto?
No, I'd want to see Landon do something like the little boy in the 2018, was it 2018 Halloween, with
Mm,
the babysitter when he jumps out of the bed, he's like, ah! And he runs down the stairs.
yeah, I know. I only bring it up because when in the story in the comics when Peter gives up the marriage between him and Mary Jane to for everyone to forget his identity. He makes the deal with Mephisto, not Doctor Strange. But
Oh.
Mephisto appeared in the form of a girl when he made the deal, and that girl, the little child girl, was the future, what the daughter that Peter and MJ would now never have.
Oh
So
wow.
it's still like a psychological torment.
Oh, they would never
Yeah,
put
I
that in a
know,
movie,
I
but it
know,
would be so
I
great
know.
to see. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I want to see something like that on the big screen. Something like that, like when I put on Disney Plus. Like, I want to feel like, oh dang, like I want that
Yeah,
to mess with me. Where it's like,
like
but we just cop out.
yeah,
Like we take the
yeah.
easy route with a lot of this
It's
writing.
too safe.
Yeah, and I'm just stop, stop,
Maybe
bring
that's just
stakes
us
back.
being like adults, right? Like I know that this content's geared more towards like they want to bring in at least some kids, right? Like maybe the preteens and stuff. So you can't go full.
That's all they talk about nowadays is wanting kids to grow up. And they don't want
Yeah,
kids to have childhoods anymore, dream and have imaginations. They're like, no, you need to realize how horrible the world is. Well, okay, give them the content
yeah.
then. Like, you want to
Just
say this, but you don't want to, oh, no, no, don't show them that. No, they can't see that. Like, no, just put it on
make a
there.
deal with Mephisto. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, dude, you're bringing the devil into,
Yeah,
the freaking MCU. Like, can it get any more extreme than that? I mean, it can, but as far as by their standards, it's
yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like the ultimate evil, depending on who you ask.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really have too much more to talk about on this. Like I
Yeah.
said, I've spoken my piece on the episode. I am curious though. Out of 10, what would you give if we're not gonna do individual episodes? All three.
Um, Honestly, it's probably like overall, I think I had a better time than watching some of the episodes of Daredevil. So, um, that being said,
See our
if I
previous
look at it,
content.
yeah, yeah. Um, we can put the little bar where it says "clink" on the playlist. But that being said, again, I didn't have too high of expectations because I didn't know why this show existed. But I kind of came out pleasantly. I wasn't surprised by it. It does have a bit more depth than I thought it was going to. So, and I didn't feel it did preach a little bit, but I didn't feel it was She-Hulk level preachy. So that was good.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, I'd probably give it 6.5. I think it's fair. It's above average, which honestly is pretty much in line with mostly all of Disney Plus Marvel shows. Above average.
Okay.
But that's for the first 3 episodes. That's like one entire entity, like beginning, middle, of end.
Okay. Yeah, this one's getting a 4 from me for all three.
Four.
Yeah, like I said, it toes that line where it's like we could get preachy, but we're not going to. We're going to pull back just a little bit. And again, what you just said, it does not get as preachy as She-Hulk, which we will eventually, unfortunately, discuss one day. But like I said, there's just things that they do with the character that just it doesn't feel like it would be the next thing in their journey. And just the way that they're treating some of them again. I go back to Joe. Like there's better ways to write a character like that. And then just the tie-in, like it's like they're setting up villain, but it's the same way that they've been setting up previous villains. Like, oh, I was picked on. Oh, I'm weak. Oh, this is me
Yeah.
finding power. And this is me exerting that power too far for evil. And it's like stop with the tropes. I'm tired of the modern day tropes. Just burn them. Burn the book. Start fresh. Give me a fleshed out character. I want dimensions. I want layers. Just stop giving me these one dimensional caricatures. But Yeah, like I said, we still have 3 episodes to go though. So, like I said, the only way that I'm like, okay, I'm on board. Better see Mephisto ripping out from his body, get gory, get crazy. Like it's just something to turn it around. But yeah, aside from that, that's all I really got for Iron 1 through 3. What about you?
No, I think it's just so hard for these shows considering they're not episodic, so it's kind of hard to rate them. It is basically just a 4-hour movie just cut up into parts. So
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I mean I always thought that these Disney Plus shows should have been the build up to like the Young Avengers. If you're just gonna go more for like kids, preteens, or whatever, then okay, cool. You can do that and make them more child friendly, and then have them go, build them all up to legacy characters of the Young Avengers that could tie into the movies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't know. I mean, they still might do it, but I think that ship sailed. Like, they should have been doing that from the beginning. I mean, you had Billy and Tommy in WandaVision that you could have done something with. Kate Bishop came in Hawkeye, Miss Marvel. Like, you could have been doing all that build up, and it just seems we're like what 5 years now removed from the first MCU Disney Plus show almost. So I mean,
Yeah.
like they're not young anymore. So you're gonna call them the champions? I don't know. I just think they missed the beat with that in the beginning. So now it's just kind of like, okay, well, what are we actually doing with these shows? Are they just you know side content to the MCU, or I don't know. I think the MCU kind of lost its vision with the quality or the quantity pump rather than the quality.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I'm always gonna blame it on the writing. I'm always gonna blame it on the writing because you task these writers with creating the story, cultivating the character, but especially if they're still even doing the main plan, or like we've talked about with Superman, is this just off the rails right now? We're pivoting, we're scurrying, we're trying to pick up, whatever pieces we can to try to make something cohesive. Because again, like you said, WandaVision was the first one. That was like, oh my god, like I don't even know what this is. Like even with the
Yeah,
trailers, you don't even know, and then when you experience it, you're like, okay, this is something a little
yeah.
different. But then as we started getting more and more and more of them, it was just like the writing got worse as it went to where, what was the last good thing? Werewolf by Night,
That was pretty good. Yeah. I
maybe?
mean, I don't
Yeah.
remember the release order. But yeah, I mean, but WandaVision you felt was part of the MCU. It's not just because of the returning actors, right? Like you just
Yeah.
felt like like it
You
was
continued her story.
post. Yeah, it was post Endgame, and then like Loki, it's kind of like a side thing because it's an alternate variant, but it's also going to build towards this actual multiverse saga that we were supposedly in. And I mean, Captain or Falcon Winter Soldier was derailed by COVID and all their shoots, and then Hawkeye got delayed quite a bit, and then that kind of did the same thing, right? Where it was pretty good, and then the ending they just couldn't stick,
Yeah.
and
Because
even
then
then that didn't further along the overall narrative. Like it was a decent self-contained story that you probably could have condensed a little bit more, but it just when you don't stick the landing because you don't have a compelling enough villain. Like, yeah, they brought back Wilson Fisk, but that wasn't the villain in the whole story.
that's not the Wilson Fisk, the villain we fell in love with
Yeah,
either.
no,
That a completely different character that we never see again. Maybe in Echo, but I never finished Echo either. I just lost interest. And again, then we get to
Born
Daredevil,
Again.
Born
Yeah,
Again, and again a completely different Wilson Fisk. Like it's just the consistency. Like none of it. It's
I
not
think I think
cohesive
it's the
anymore.
problem where, especially with the movies, where they just seem to like, all right, we're gonna like I don't know, they'll announce something like say Black Panther 3 is coming out May 2028. All right, well they announced it, but they don't have a script. So now you
Yeah,
got to scramble to get. So that I think that's Marvel's problem. And I think that's something James Gunn is trying to do away with. He's like, we're not announcing something until we have the script, and like that is what they need to do. Stop trying to get the content out and actually develop the script before you announce it, because then if you announce it, now you're on a deadline. And if you
Yeah.
Blade, Blade, they announced Blade,
We're never
what,
gonna
like
get that movie.
in 2019 they announced it or something like that, and here we are 2025, and it's probably not going to come out until like 2028. Like, come on, it's
If
because you
that.
announced it but you didn't have a script, and now it's been through like 6 different writers, and like Mahershala Ali's going to be in his 50s if he's not already.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's about it. Like, don't start like really like tighten up the story before you put something in production.
Tighten up the story, decide on a format as far as what you're going to be doing. Is this a standalone? Is this a continuation? We need to go back to standalones. We
Yeah.
need standalones. You don't need to tie it in to something. Like you said with the first Iron Man movie. Perfect. And nobody knew it was going to be part of a cinematic universe because a lot of people didn't know there was an after credits scene. I didn't even know there was an after credits scene until like months later. Like, wait, what are you talking about? There's an ending to this. Then the
Nah, as
Incredible
soon
Hulk
as
came out, and then it was
soon
like,
as
wait, Tony
soon as
Stark's in
Coulson as soon as Coulson came out and announced the strategic homeland, I was like, "Yep, we're." I was like, "If this makes money, we're going there."
it. So yeah, it's like the little things like that. But again, a standalone movie
Yeah,
and standalone trilogy to an extent. Like the third one, yes, the second one relies too much on the MCU to function as a product. And again, it speaks for itself. But we'll talk about that eventually another day.
and the writer's strike,
Um,
but yeah,
yeah, we can't always blame it on the writer's strike, but it definitely plays a part.
that one did for sure.
But yeah, I mean, that has been our review for Ironheart episode 1 through 3. We do plan on doing 3 through 6 if that's how they're going to release it eventually. But thank y'all as always for watching. We do greatly appreciate it. Leave a like and subscribe, and please get down in the comments. We want to hear from y'all. Let's get a dialogue going. What did y'all think about it so far? Do you agree with us? One of us? None of us? Like, we're curious. Like, get in on these comments. We want to hear from y'all. And we did speak a lot about past projects, including Daredevil Born Again, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Definitely check those out. Falcon and Winter Soldiers from a very long time ago when we were first starting, but definitely a trip down memory lane if you're interested. But Robert, did you want to tell them about some of the other projects we have going on?
Yeah, like previously mentioned with the Daredevil coverage, we also have 2 ranked series on the channel. We did Mission Impossible. We're currently in the middle of doing Superman. Superman Returns should be hitting the channel soon. Um, Maybe after this one, so be on the lookout. Depending, I don't know. We also have a bunch of trailer reactions on the channel. We got like over 50 of them, so feel free to check them all out.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert, as always. Much appreciated. And thank y'all as well. We'll catch y'all in the next one.